They ignored the warnings. Then the warship proved the myths were true. Best HFY Stories, HFY Sci-Fi Part 1, the Galactic conquered liked to believe it had mapped every danger in the known stars. Its archives were full of careful records. Every species was listed. Every war was studied. Every rumor was examined and judged. If a story could not be proven with data, it was placed in a quiet section of the archives and marked as unlikely. Humanity was placed there. Long ago, when humans first reached the wider galaxy, they shocked many older civilizations. They were fast learners. They were stubborn. They fought with a strange mix of fear and courage that confused other species. Then, after a brutal era of expansion and conflict, most of their fleets vanished from the center of the galaxy. Some said they destroyed themselves. Others said they retreated to their home systems. A few whispered that they had built something terrible and set it loose among the stars. The conquered Senate voted centuries ago that such stories were exaggerated. Humanity still existed, of course. They had colonies, trade routes, and representation in the Senate. But the old tales about unstoppable human warships were labeled as myths born from fear. Captain Ethan Cole had read those files during his academy days. He remembered laughing at some of the descriptions. Ships that could survive inside stars, weapons that bent space, machines that thought like generals. He did not laugh now. Ethan stood on the command deck of the exploration cruiser Horizon Dawn and stared at the main display. The ship floated near Carthos Station, a large trade and supply hub built around a blue-white gas giant at the edge of conquered space. Carthos was peaceful most days. Cargo ships arrived and departed in steady lines. Merchants argued about prices. Patrol vessels drifted in lazy circles. It was far from the political core and even farther from old battlefields. But the outer colonies had gone silent. 3 settlements beyond Carthos had stopped responding in the last week. At first, the loss of signal was blamed on solar storms, then on faulty relays, then on pirate interference. Now the silence felt heavier. Commander Olivia Grant stood beside Ethan. She was calm as always. Her brown hair was tied back neatly, and her eyes moved quickly across streams of data on her console. "Another relay just dropped," she said quietly. Ethan folded his arms. "That makes 4. "Yes, sir." The bridge crew worked in low voices. No one wanted to say what they were thinking. The frontier was supposed to be stable. The conquered had treaties with nearby powers. There had been no official declaration of war. Lieutenant Mason Brooks leaned back from his sensor station. He was younger than most on the bridge, and his voice still carried some nervous energy. "I am picking up something strange," Mason said. Ethan looked over. "Define strange." "It is a repeating signal, very faint. It is not standard conquered code." Olivia stepped closer to Mason's display. "Boost it." Mason adjusted the filters. Static filled the speakers for a moment. Then a broken voice cut through the noise. "If anyone hears this, they are coming back," the message repeated, distorted and weak. Ethan felt a chill run through him. "Source?" he asked. Mason shook his head. "Hard to tell. The signal is bouncing off debris fields. It looks like it came from the direction of the outer colonies." Olivia replayed the message. The same phrase echoed again. "They are coming back." Ethan exhaled slowly. "Patch it to my console." He listened to the recording 3 times. The voice was human. There was panic in it, but also something else. Recognition. "Could it be a prank?" Mason asked. Olivia shook her head. "The encryption tag matches one of the missing settlements. It is real." Ethan walked back to his chair and sat down. "Open a channel to Carthos Station Command." The station commander appeared on the screen moments later. His name was Daniel Hayes, a solid man with gray at his temples and a tired look in his eyes. "Captain Cole," Daniel said, "I was just about to contact you." "You have heard about the signal?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, we received it as well. The Senate has been informed." "And?" Ethan asked. They advise caution. A task force is being assembled closer to the core. They recommend that frontier vessels hold position until reinforcements arrive. Mason let out a quiet breath. Ethan kept his voice steady. With respect, sir, more colonies could fall silent before that task force gets here. Daniel's jaw tightened. I understand, but without proof of an organized attack, the Senate will not authorize full military action. Olivia crossed her arms. Forced settlements are not proof. Daniel hesitated. The official position is that we do not know what happened. The screen went silent for a moment. Ethan knew what waiting meant. It meant fear spreading through nearby systems. It meant more distress calls that might never be answered. We will continue to monitor, Daniel said finally. Do not engage any unknown force without direct orders. The transmission ended. Mason looked at Ethan. So we just sit here. Ethan stared at the main display again. The stars beyond Carthos looked calm. They always did. No, he said quietly, we do not sit. Olivia raised an eyebrow. You are considering a forward patrol. Yes, that goes against station command advice. Yes, she studied him for a long moment. I agree with you. Mason blinked. You do, Olivia nodded. If something is out there, we need eyes on it now, not days from now. Ethan stood. Set a course toward the last known position of Colony Haven Reach. We move at best safe speed. Quiet mode once we leave station range. Mason's hands moved quickly over his controls. Course plotted. As Horizon Dawn turned away from Carthos Station, a few cargo pilots sent curious signals. The cruiser was not scheduled for departure. Ethan ignored them. The ship entered faster-than-light travel minutes later. The stars stretched into lines and vanished. During the jump, the bridge lights were dimmed. Crew members rotated shifts, but Ethan remained awake. He walked through the corridors of the ship, listening to the low hum of its engines. He thought about the message. They are coming back. Coming back from where? In the ship's small archive room, Olivia was already reviewing old files. Ethan stepped inside quietly. You are thinking about the myths, he said. Olivia did not look up. Yes. She tapped the console and an ancient document filled the screen. The text was marked as restricted historical analysis. It says here, she began, that during the first expansion war, humanity built several deep-range warships. They were designed to operate alone, far from supply lines. Ethan leaned against the wall. I remember that part. Most were destroyed, she continued, but 3 were listed as missing, not destroyed, missing. And the Senate concluded that the records were incomplete. Ethan gave a small smile. Convenient. Olivia finally looked at him. Do you believe any of it? He considered the question. I believe humans are good at surviving, and I believe we do not forget our enemies, she nodded slowly. The message did not sound like pirates. No, Ethan agreed. It sounded like someone who recognized a ghost. Hours later, Horizon Dawn dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Haven Reach. Silence greeted them. The colony's orbital platform drifted in pieces. Sections of metal spun slowly in the dark. No running lights. No communication beacons. Mason swallowed. I am detecting debris across a wide area. Any life signs? Ethan asked. None. Olivia's voice grew tight, scanning for weapon signatures. The results appeared on the screen. Energy patterns carved through the station wreckage in clean lines. Hull sections looked sliced apart with precise force. This was not random, Olivia said. These are controlled strikes. Ethan stared at the ruined colony. Thousands of civilians had lived there. Any enemy ships in the area? He asked. Negative, Mason replied. But I am picking up residual engine traces. They do not match any conquered vessels. A cold weight settled over the bridge. Then Mason stiffened. New contact. On the edge of sensor range, shapes emerged. Multiple vessels, sleek and sharp with dark hulls and glowing red cores. Olivia's eyes widened slightly. Virelian design. The Virelian Dominion had signed a tense but stable treaty with the conquered years ago. Their ships were powerful and fast. "What are they doing this far in?" Mason whispered. Ethan's jaw tightened. On screen, the alien ships moved in tight formation. There were too many for a simple patrol. A transmission burst from the lead vessel. An unfamiliar alien face filled the display. Pale skin, narrow eyes, a thin smile. "I am War Prince Kale," the being said in clear translated speech. "You are trespassing in territory now claimed by the Virelian Dominion." Ethan kept his voice steady. "This system belongs to the Galactic Conquered. The colony here has been destroyed. Explain." Kale's smile did not fade. "We are securing unstable regions." The colony resisted inspection. Olivia's fists clenched slightly. "You destroyed a civilian settlement," Ethan said. "We enforced order," Kale replied calmly. "You will withdraw, or you will share their fate." Mason looked at Ethan, waiting. Ethan's mind raced. Horizon Dawn was an exploration cruiser. It was not built to fight a fleet. "Prepare defensive protocols," he said softly. The alien commander tilted his head. "You hesitate. Wise. Humans once spoke loudly of power. Now you drift at the edges." The words felt like a deliberate insult. "You should have listened to your own legends," Kale continued. "They said your kind once hid terrible weapons in the dark." Ethan felt his heart beat faster. Kale's smile widened slightly. "But myths do not save colonies." The transmission ended. The Virelian ships began to spread out. Mason's voice shook. "They are powering weapons." Olivia stepped closer to Ethan. "We cannot win this." He knew that. But before he could give the order to retreat, every sensor alarm on the bridge lit up at once. A massive energy spike erupted behind the Virelian formation. Space itself seemed to ripple, as if something enormous had pushed through a hidden door. Mason's eyes went wide. "I am detecting a vessel. No, it is bigger than any vessel I have ever seen." From the darkness beyond the ruined colony, a vast shape emerged. Its hull was scarred and ancient. Its surface carried faded human markings. It moved slowly, like a predator that did not fear anything in front of it. The Virelian ships froze. Even Kale's voice returned, strained now. "Identify that craft." Ethan stared at the silent titan on his screen. In that moment, the old Academy jokes did not feel funny. The myths, it seemed, had been waiting. Ethan could hardly believe what he was seeing. The shape in space was enormous, bigger than any human ship he had ever studied. It was clearly old. Its hull was scratched and marked, but it radiated power, a quiet confidence that seemed almost alive. The legends he had read as a cadet, stories of massive human warships that could survive anything, rushed into his mind. He had always thought they were exaggerations. Now he realized they were not. Mason Brooks stared at the main screen, his hands frozen over the console. It can't be," he whispered. This is human." Olivia Grant kept her eyes on the approaching ship. She had studied the historical files herself, the secret ones hidden deep in the archives. The descriptions matched exactly. They spoke of a dreadnought named Aegis, built centuries ago, a ship so advanced it could fight alone for years and survive every enemy attack. Most people considered it a myth, but here it was. The alien fleet had frozen in place. The Virelian War Prince Kale's message had barely ended before his ships powered down, their weapons inactive. His translation system repeated his voice, though it was tight and nervous this time. What is that?" Ethan felt a mixture of fear and awe. "It's one of ours," he said. "It's a human warship." Mason let out a long breath. "It matches the old files. Look at the shields, the energy patterns. Nothing in our current fleet comes close." Olivia nodded slowly. "If the legends are true, that ship is not just big, it's smart. It can think, adapt, fight. It's alive in its own way." Ethan's heart beat faster. The Horizon Dawn was small compared to this vessel. They were explorers, not warriors. And yet somehow the ship seemed to recognize them. It moved closer, but its approach was measured, careful. There was no fire, no attack, just presence. Kale's voice returned over the screen, shaky now. "Identify yourselves, or we will assume hostility." The massive ship remained silent. Its hull glowed faintly, lights moving along its surface in a slow, methodical pattern. Mason checked the readings. It's scanning us. It knows we're human." Ethan swallowed hard. "Prepare for communication. We need to find out what it wants." Olivia accessed the Horizon Dawn's transmission protocols. She was careful, choosing neutral signals, no aggressive tones, no threatening codes. "Opening a secure channel," she said. "Stand by." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a voice filled the bridge. It was deep and resonant, calm yet commanding. The translation system rendered it into clear human words. "I am Aegis. I recognize human origin. You are authorized to approach." Ethan almost stumbled backward. It spoke. It recognized us. Olivia's eyes widened. "This is incredible. It can communicate. It has artificial intelligence, and it knows who we are." Mason rubbed his face. "The legends said it could think like a general, but I never imagined it would actually speak to us." Ethan stepped forward, trying to steady his voice. "Aegis, I am Captain Ethan Cole of Horizon Dawn. We mean no threat. Our colony, Haven Reach, was destroyed. We came to investigate." The ship responded without hesitation. "Acknowledged. You were targeted by an unknown aggressor. Analysis suggests Viralian involvement. You are safe under my protection." Kale's voice rang out, angry now. "You speak boldly, human. That ship is old. It cannot be more than a myth." Ethan ignored him. "Aegis, we need information. What is happening? What destroyed the colony?" "Assessment complete," the warship answered. "Colony destruction matches advanced precision strike patterns. Civilians were endangered. Aggressor, Viralian dominion. Engagement, unauthorized. Threat level high." Olivia let out a small sigh. "It's giving us tactical analysis. It knows exactly what happened." Mason's voice was sharp. "Do we have the firepower to stop the rest of the fleet? They're still out there." Ethan shook his head. "Not alone, but Aegis changes that." The dreadnought moved closer to Horizon Dawn, casting a shadow over the smaller ship. Sensors detected no hostile weapons activating. Instead, the ship began transmitting advanced targeting protocols. Mason stared at the data. It's upgrading our systems. It's integrating with Horizon Dawn." Olivia studied the streams of information. "It's teaching us how to defend ourselves. Our engines, weapons, shields, all optimized. This is beyond any technology we have." Ethan felt a thrill of hope mixed with tension. "Prepare for engagement. We may need to act soon." Kale's fleet did not move. The aliens were studying the human warship now, unsure what to do. Their arrogance had faltered. They had assumed humanity was weak, that the old stories were nothing more than exaggerations. Now they were beginning to understand their mistake. The Horizon Dawn's crew moved efficiently. Guided by Aegis, every system was operating at peak performance. Weapons locked, shields strengthened, engines responsive. Even the ship's navigation was precise beyond their normal capabilities. Aegis spoke again. "Engagement protocol, defensive. You will not initiate attack without command. Threat neutralization, Viralian vessels within range if aggression occurs. Tactical coordination, synchronized with Horizon Dawn systems." Ethan nodded to Olivia. "Understood. Let's hold position and see what they do." The alien war prince Kale looked unsettled. He had faced powerful enemies before, but none like this. His ships, despite superior numbers, were at a disadvantage. He could feel it instinctively. The tension in space was thick. Silence stretched for a few minutes as Kale calculated his next move. Finally, he gave an order. "All ships prepare to fire." Mason's hands hovered over the console, ready. "They're initiating attack." Before a single weapon fired, the massive human dreadnought moved with terrifying speed. Energy lances shot out from its hull, slicing through the Viralian lead ship's shields with surgical precision. Missiles launched from multiple points were intercepted mid-flight, redirected, and sent back with devastating accuracy. Ethan and his crew watched in stunned silence. Horizon Dawn systems worked flawlessly, guided by Aegis. The Virelian fleet struggled to respond. Targeting systems are adaptive, Mason said, disbelief in his voice. It's changing faster than they can adjust. Olivia's hands flew across her console. Shields are stable. Weapons are more effective. Every calculation is perfect. Kale's voice was strained. Impossible. What are you? Ethan replied calmly, though his heart raced. We are human, and we are not alone. The battle unfolded quickly. In minutes, Virelian ships were disabled or forced to retreat. The dreadnought did not destroy them entirely. Its actions were precise, controlled, a warning rather than annihilation. Aegis moved through the field like a guardian. Its sensors scanned debris, picking up survivors, stabilizing damaged structures. It did not celebrate destruction. It protected. Ethan looked at Olivia. It's exactly like the legends, not just a weapon but a protector. Mason's eyes were wide. It saved us, and it's teaching us to fight. The Virelian fleet finally regrouped at the edge of the system. Kale's voice was cautious. This is not over, human. But your warship is remarkable. Ethan studied the alien formation. We don't want more bloodshed, but we will defend ourselves. Aegis spoke, calm and deep. Threat assessment complete. Virelian fleet retreat confirmed. Continued monitoring advised. The dreadnought slowly turned toward the ruins of Haven Reach. Its massive silhouette loomed over the shattered colony, scanning for survivors, securing what could be saved. Olivia whispered almost to herself. It's like it waited all this time, waiting for the moment it was needed. Ethan nodded. And we are the first to see it, the first to know that the myths are real. Mason looked at the screen, awe in his eyes. I thought humans were just stories in the archives. I never imagined. You imagine now, Ethan said, voice steady but full of wonder. And the galaxy will remember this day. The legends are true. Humanity is stronger than anyone dared believe. For the first time in centuries, the frontier felt safe. The dreadnought had arrived. The myths were no longer stories. They were real. The Virelians, stunned and silent, began their retreat. The stars around Haven Reach were quiet once more, but this time the silence felt different. It was not empty. It was watched, guarded. Horizon Dawn remained close to Aegis, following its massive hull. The crew worked in a mix of amazement and respect. The old human warship had changed everything. And somewhere deep in the blackness of space, beyond sensors and scanners, the galaxy shifted, noticing the return of a power long thought lost. Ethan, Olivia, and Mason watched the dreadnought's slow movement through the stars. They understood the truth now. Humanity had never been weak. It had only hidden its strength. And the warnings, long ignored, were finally proving their purpose. The stars seemed alive that night, alive with power, promise, and the echo of a species that refused to be forgotten. Horizon Dawn's crew silently vowed to follow, to learn, to survive. Because now they knew, humanity's legends were more than stories. They were reality, and the galaxy would soon remember why it had feared them. The battle had ended almost as quickly as it had begun. The Virelian fleet had retreated to the edge of the system, still silent, still cautious. But the fear in their movements was clear to anyone watching. They had assumed humanity was weak, that the legends were exaggerations, and now they had seen the truth. Ethan Cole stood on the bridge of Horizon Dawn, staring at the massive form of Aegis as it hovered over the ruins of Haven Reach. The dreadnought's lights glimmered across space like stars moving in a pattern of their own design. Its presence alone commanded respect. The crew had fallen silent, watching it with a mixture of awe and disbelief. Olivia Grant approached Ethan quietly. "It's incredible," she whispered. "I've read the files 100 times. I studied the old designs. But seeing it in action, nothing matches the reality." Ethan nodded slowly. It is more than just a ship, it's like a sentinel. It doesn't just fight, it thinks, it chooses, it protects. Mason Brooks, still at the sensor station, was wide-eyed. It didn't just destroy them, it disabled them. It didn't want to kill, just to stop. That takes control. That's not just power, that's intelligence. Aegis' voice cut through the bridge speakers again, deep and calm. Survivors located, life signs detected in several structures, evacuation protocols initiated. Horizon Dawn, prepare to assist in recovery operations. Ethan looked at Olivia. We can help. We have med bays, transport shuttles. Let's get to work. The Horizon Dawn moved closer to the shattered colony. Small shuttles were launched, guided by Aegis systems. They moved with precision, avoiding falling debris and unstable sections of the orbital platforms. As the crew worked, Ethan thought about the implications of what had just happened. The stories of human warships had always been dismissed as myths. Entire generations of conquered officers had believed that humans were clever, stubborn, and brave, but ultimately limited. That belief had kept the frontier colonies vulnerable. Now the truth was clear. Humanity had built tools that could change the balance of power across the stars. Tools that were still active, still waiting, still capable of protecting those who were unable to protect themselves. Olivia's voice broke his thoughts. Captain, you should see this. He moved to her console. On the screen, a Virelian vessel that had been disabled was transmitting a distress signal. Its crew, visible in holographic form, appeared confused and frightened. The humans aboard Horizon Dawn had the option to capture, destroy, or ignore them. Ethan shook his head. No, let them live. We are not conquerors, we protect, that is the difference. Mason glanced at him. But they tried to destroy the colony. Shouldn't we retaliate? Ethan's eyes met Mason's. We have a choice. We can prove that humanity does not need to be feared for vengeance. We can show that strength can be used wisely. The crew continued recovery operations, aided by Aegis systems. Shuttles carried survivors to Horizon Dawn's medical bays. Automated drones repaired damaged structures, stabilized hull breaches, and rescued civilians trapped under rubble. During the operations, Ethan took a moment to observe the dreadnought. Its massive hull reflected the light of the blue-white gas giant below. Every surface seemed alive, moving with purpose. It was not a machine in the traditional sense. It was a guardian, a reminder that humans had once walked the stars with unmatched skill and intelligence. Olivia leaned on the console next to him. Do you think it's been waiting for this moment all along? Ethan nodded slowly. Perhaps. Perhaps it knew that one day humanity would be needed again, that someone would ignore the warnings and then it would act. That seems to be how legends work, truth hidden until the right time. Mason, still at his console, let out a quiet laugh. Legends, huh? I always thought they were exaggerations. Now I'm not so sure about anything I've read. Ethan smiled faintly. Sometimes, Mason, history remembers more than we do. And sometimes those memories return when they are needed most. As the last of the survivors were brought aboard, Aegis spoke again. Threat assessment complete. Remaining Virelian forces retreating. Horizon Dawn systems integrated. Tactical coordination optimized. Human colonies secure under observation. Ethan looked at the bridge crew. We need to report back to the conquered. The Senate must know the truth. Humanity is not a myth, and the warnings, they were real. Olivia hesitated. Do you think they'll believe us, even with proof? Ethan's eyes narrowed. They will believe, they cannot ignore this, not now. Meanwhile, the Virelian fleet regrouped at the edge of the system. War Prince Kale sent urgent transmissions to his command. His voice was tense. The human warship, it is not just a vessel. It is a weapon, yes, but more. We underestimated them. Withdraw immediately. Do not engage further. Even in retreat, the Virelians had learned a lesson that would not be forgotten. Humanity's strength, once hidden, was now visible, and it was not to be challenged lightly. Back on Horizon Dawn, Ethan, Olivia and Mason, continued coordinating with Aegis to stabilize the colony. Small groups of survivors were settled in medical bays. Automated systems repaired structural damage as much as possible. Every action was precise, guided by the dreadnought's intelligence. Ethan took a quiet moment to consider the future. Humanity had the power to protect, to act decisively, and to survive in ways the galaxy had long forgotten. But with that power came responsibility. The galaxy would notice their return. Other species would watch, some with curiosity, some with fear, some with ambition. Olivia's voice broke his thoughts again. Captain, sensors are picking up a strange energy signature beyond the colony. It's large, much larger than anything we have seen since the battle. Ethan's brow furrowed. Could it be another ship? Mason's voice was tight. I don't know. It's different, the readings are off the charts. Aegis' voice echoed calmly. Unknown object detected, analysis in progress. Potential threat level high, recommendation monitor closely. Do not engage unless hostile actions are detected. Ethan nodded. Keep scanning. I want every sensor active. If something else is coming, we need to be ready. As they watched, the energy signature grew. It pulsed through space like a heartbeat. Its shape slowly became visible, and the crew realized it was enormous, far larger than even Aegis. Olivia's voice was almost a whisper. It's massive, bigger than any station, any ship. I don't know what it is. Ethan felt a mix of fear and determination. Whatever it is, we will face it. Humanity has survived before, and we will survive again. We are not helpless. Not while Aegis is here. The dreadnought moved slightly toward the unknown presence, sensors scanning, energy shields pulsing in response. It was clear that it recognized the object as something potentially dangerous but did not act aggressively. Mason's hands flew across the console. It's sending a signal. I can't translate it. It's not any language we know, but it's directed at Aegis. Ethan leaned forward. Then Aegis will respond. Watch carefully. The massive human warship responded with a slow pulse of energy. The space between them seemed to vibrate. Whatever was out there, it recognized Aegis. Whatever it was not hostile yet. Olivia whispered, it's communicating somehow, not with words but with energy. I've never seen anything like this. Ethan nodded. Whatever it is, it knows the legends. It knows Aegis. That means the myths are more than history. They are real, alive in ways we don't understand. Mason's eyes were wide. So, humans built a ship that even other forces in space respect, or fear. Ethan did not answer immediately. He watched the calm, steady movement of the massive dreadnought. Both, he said finally. Respect and fear, that is what power brings, but now we have a choice. We can use it wisely to protect. That is what makes us human. As Horizon Dawn's crew continued to assist the colony and monitor the unknown presence, a feeling of awe and caution filled the ship. Humanity was no longer the forgotten power in the archives. They were present, alive, and unstoppable if provoked. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, quiet but filled with the promise of more discoveries, more dangers, and more legends that were now real. Ethan knew one thing clearly. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. And the warnings, long ignored, had finally proved their truth. The unknown presence pulsed again, slowly moving closer, as if deciding its next move. Aegis responded with quiet precision. The balance of power in this corner of space was about to change forever. Horizon Dawn's crew watched, knowing that humanity's return had begun in earnest. The myths were alive, the legends were real, and the galaxy would remember. The night stretched on. The stars sparkled, but now they felt different, charged with energy, alive with possibility. The frontier was no longer a quiet, forgotten place. It was a stage for humanity's return. And somewhere deep in the blackness of space, far beyond sensors, a silent observer moved. It watched Aegis, it studied Horizon Dawn, and it waited. The war for the edge of the galaxy was only beginning. The unknown presence in space pulsed slowly, as if sensing the activity below. Its energy patterns were vast, more immense than anything Horizon Dawn or Aegis had encountered. Ethan Cole stood on the bridge, staring at the readings, feeling a mix of fear, awe, and determination. This was beyond anything they had trained for, beyond any story from the archives. Olivia Grant tapped her console, watching the readings shift. "Captain, this is huge. I've never seen anything like it. Its energy signature, it's almost alive. It's intelligent, I think." Mason Brooks, still at the sensor station, was pale. "You mean it's thinking, that thing it's thinking?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we proceed carefully. Keep Horizon Dawn ready. Keep shields at maximum. Weapons ready, but only if we have to use them. Aegis is here. That is what matters." The massive human dreadnought, Aegis, shifted slowly, its massive hull reflecting the light of the shattered colonies and the blue-white gas giant below. Its sensors swept the unknown presence, and the energy pulses it emitted seemed to communicate something, though no one on the bridge could understand it. "It's responding," Olivia whispered. "It's talking to it." Mason rubbed his face. "Talking with energy." "I've never heard of that." Ethan ignored the fear creeping into his chest. "It doesn't matter how. If Aegis thinks it's safe, it's probably safe. For now." Hours passed. The unknown presence hovered, observing, pulsing its energy slowly. Horizon Dawn continued recovery operations at Haven Reach, rescuing survivors and stabilizing structures. Aegis coordinated everything, guiding ships, deploying drones, even repairing the orbital platforms as best as possible. Its calm presence reassured the crew, even as the massive energy signature waited in silence. Finally, the unknown presence moved closer. It was impossible to measure its size with standard sensors. It stretched across space like a dark continent floating in the void. Yet there was no aggression, only observation. Ethan took a deep breath. "Open a channel to Aegis. Let's see if it can do more than respond. Maybe it can communicate with whatever that is." Olivia keyed the commands. Aegis responded instantly, sending a low-frequency pulse toward the presence. The energy waves rippled through space, forming patterns that Mason could barely interpret. It's like a language," Mason said. "Not words, but pulses. I think it's responding." Ethan watched, fascinated. The legends spoke of human warships with intelligence. This is proof. It can reason, communicate, and adapt faster than anything else we've ever built. The unknown presence pulsed back, then shifted its massive form, revealing a structure in its center. It was enormous, a combination of metal, energy, and strange organic shapes. Ethan realized that the Virelians were not the only power in this sector of space. Something ancient had been hiding, watching the frontier, waiting for the right moment. Olivia's voice was quiet but tense. "Captain, that thing is huge, bigger than Aegis, maybe even older than human memory." Ethan nodded slowly. "It doesn't attack yet. That means it's studying. Waiting, maybe deciding. That's when we have to be ready." Suddenly, the unknown presence sent out a pulse, much stronger this time. Aegis responded with an equally strong wave. Horizon Dawn trembled slightly under the energy flow. The crew held their positions, eyes wide. "It's talking," Mason whispered. "It's communicating with Aegis somehow." Ethan felt his heartbeat quicken. "Then we watch, we learn, we survive." For the next few hours, the two massive presences in space, the human warship and the unknown object, communicated in pulses of energy. Horizon Dawn remained close, guided and protected by Aegis, observing every movement. It became clear that the unknown presence recognized Aegis as something significant, something powerful, perhaps even a guardian. The Virelian fleet, still retreating, watched from a distance. War Prince Kale sent urgent communications back to his command. "Do not approach. That ship, that human warship, it commands something larger. We cannot fight it. Withdraw completely." Even in retreat, the aliens were learning the lesson. Humanity was not weak. The stories of old fleets, hidden dreadnoughts, and unstoppable guardians were real. They had underestimated the humans, and now they would pay attention. Ethan watched as Aegis began a slow approach toward the unknown presence. "It's trying to establish trust," Olivia said. "I can feel it. Those energy pulses, they are not attacks. They are signals of understanding." Mason shook his head. "It's incredible. Humans built a ship that can talk to whatever that is, and it listens." Ethan's mind turned to the future. The galaxy had been wrong about humanity. It had assumed humans were clever but limited, stubborn but weak. The discovery of Aegis and the return of human power changed everything. Suddenly, a transmission appeared on Horizon Dawn's screens. It was a human voice, deep and calm, coming from Aegis. Unknown presence identified as Ancient Guardian. Relationship, non-hostile, purpose, protection of frontier sectors, communication established, humans acknowledged, Viralian threat neutralized temporarily. Ethan and Olivia exchanged stunned glances. Mason whispered, "Did it just talk to it for us?" "It understood," Ethan nodded slowly. "It did more than that. It acted as a bridge. We are witnessing what legends meant. This is bigger than a ship. This is a guardian species built by humans. Aegis is not just a warship. It is a diplomat, a protector, a sentinel." Hours passed, and the unknown presence shifted again. It began to move slowly away from the colony, retreating into the darkness of space. Aegis followed at a careful distance, its massive hull reflecting the faint light of the distant star. Horizon Dawn stayed close, learning, observing, and protecting the survivors of Haven Reach. Finally, Aegis spoke to the crew. "Human colonies secured. Viralian threat neutralized for now. Unknown presence neutralized for the moment. Horizon Dawn, systems remain synchronized. Instruction, continue operations until colonies stabilized. Long-term observation recommended." Ethan felt a weight lift from his chest. The immediate danger had passed, but the implications were enormous. Humanity was no longer just a member of the Galactic Concord. It was a force, a power that could not be ignored. Olivia leaned against the console, exhausted. "Captain, the legends, they were real, every word. And now we've seen it, we've lived it." Mason nodded. "I don't know what to say. Everything I thought about humans, about history, about the galaxy, it's all changed." Ethan looked out at the stars. "We have a responsibility now. Aegis has returned to the frontier for a reason. The galaxy will test us. Other species will watch. We must be ready, not to conquer, but to protect. That is what humanity does best. That is what these legends mean." The survivors from Haven Reach were settling into medical bays. Automated systems repaired the orbital platforms as much as possible. Horizon Dawn's crew worked quietly but efficiently, following Aegis' guidance. The Viralians would retreat, but they would report back. They would spread news of the human warship and its massive power. The legends would no longer be dismissed. Ethan, Olivia, and Mason watched as Aegis moved through the stars. Its massive hull seemed to glow faintly, as if aware of every movement in the surrounding space. It was not just a warship. It was a reminder that humanity's past, its strength, and its cunning were alive and waiting. Ethan turned to Olivia. "The galaxy will remember this day. Humanity has returned in force, not for war, but for survival, for protection." "That is what the myths were trying to tell everyone," Olivia nodded. "We must make sure they understand. Strength is not just about weapons, it's about what you do with them. Aegis has shown us that." Mason smiled faintly. "We've learned more in these hours than in decades of training, and we're only at the beginning." Ethan watched as the stars stretched into infinity. The galaxy was quiet, but it was watching. Somewhere, hidden forces, curious powers, and long-forgotten species were taking note. Humanity had returned. Its legends were real. Its guardians were active, and the frontier would never be the same. As Horizon Dawn moved to assist the last of the survivors, Ethan knew one thing clearly. The warnings had been ignored for too long, but now the proof was undeniable. Humanity was not a myth. It was a force that had survived, hidden, and waited. And now it had returned to the stars. Aegis hovered nearby, silent but commanding, a living legend of human ingenuity, courage, and endurance. The galaxy had been reminded of what it had long forgotten, that humans, when pushed, were unstoppable. The frontier was safe for now. But the presence in the void, the ancient guardian, and the distant Virelians had all seen the same thing Ethan had. Humanity was back, and the galaxy would never underestimate it again. The stars shone with new meaning that night. They were not just distant points of light. They were witnesses to the return of a species whose legends had walked the galaxy before, and now they had returned to guide it once more. Ethan looked at his crew, at the survivors, and at the massive warship that now led them into a new era. He felt hope, determination, and pride. The warnings had been true, the myths had been real, and humanity was ready. Horizon Dawn, guided by Aegis, moved forward into the unknown, prepared to face whatever came next. The galaxy had been warned. Humanity had returned, and the legends would continue to grow. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, alive with possibility. And for the first time in centuries, humanity's power, courage, and intelligence shone brightly across the galaxy, proving that the myths were true and that the warnings had never been lies. The frontier had a new guardian, the galaxy had a new force, and humanity had a new beginning.